Kaustubh Pandharipande, Director, Foundation of Economic and Ecological Development, FEED. Kaustubh Pandharipande started his work from Nagpur as a bird watcher at the age of 13 years. He volunteered his time for local conservation initiatives, mostly for the Maharashtra Pakshi Mitra, a statewide movement of amateur bird watchers. At the age of 19, he worked on the study project on lesser florican, an endangered bird once found in Vidarbha. He got he got known about the traditional hunting community Phase Pardi and their traditional knowledge about grasslands. So he contacted them and now he spends time with them. This created friendship among both, and in 2001 he established Samvedna, an NGO working with the community and conservation of grasslands. Kaustubh started his work with the fellowship like Smile, Shruti Delhi, and Ashoka Foundation, Washington, D.C. In 2007, he worked on grassland conservation project funded by UNDP, MOEF, SGP, and CEE, India. From 2014, he is working on grassland conservation under Maharashtra Gene Bank project. Presently, he is director at Foundation for Economic and Ecological Development. The organization is working on natural resource management and development, especially wetlands, grasslands, and forests with the dependent communities for sustainability of livelihood through community and women leadership development. They have been instrumental in developing the models of natural resource development and governance based on the experiential knowledge of the communities. We welcome you, sir. Today, he will be presenting on ecological history and community-based eco-restoration of savanna grassland.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. So, today we are talking about grasslands and my experience and my story with grassland. So, in this slide, you are looking at a bird which is known as a lesser florican. So this is a central character of the story, which is linked with not only with me as a person, but as a group of youths belonging to nomadic tribes and traditional hunting communities. So this is a map in 17th century. So this area is known as a Berar, which is a very small area about which initially we are going to know about. So the ecological history of Berar is very interesting, which is documented by Dr. Lakshman Satya in his book, which is Ecology, Colonialism and Cattle, which is published by Oxford University Press in 2007, which we have translated in Marathi as a Kapus Kondyachi Goshta. So this is a very interesting book. So if you come to Vidarbha region or a Berar region of Maharashtra, which is eastern part of Maharashtra, but Berar is a western part of Vidarbha. So the area is known today. If you ask any children, any boy, he or a girl, he or she can tell you the area is known for cotton. So everyone knows that the Vidarbha is known for its cotton. So which we also thought of, but after reading the book of Dr. Lakshman Satya, we come to know about the very interesting ecological history, which is confirmed by the communities. So what is that history is Dr. Lakshman Satya wrote in his book that the western Vidarbha, which is known as Berar, very similar to Marathwada, central Maharashtra, is known for its traditional varieties of livestock. So in this slide, you are not seeing varieties belonging to Berar or Vidarbha, but it's an indicator slide that there are very much different kind of diverse local livestock breeds which communities developed with their own experience. Some of them like Khamgavi, and another breed which is known as a Umberdan. They all are gone, extinct. There is a breed belonging to Wardha, which is Gavlau, is struggling. So the area is known for livestock, not known for cotton. So how this identity is changed, which this is the story of the region. So, as I told, not only about the livestock breeds, but the area is also known for pastoral communities like Dhangars and other nomadic and non-pastoral nomadic communities. As I told you, the area is very similar to Marathwada, and the rainfall is very low, like 600 mm to 400 mm to 600 mm. So the area is dominantly uh, covered by grasses. That's why the biodiversity also found in this area is belonging to grassland. So the bird which you are seeing is a great Indian bustard, which is almost extinct from Maharashtra now, unfortunately. Once in every part of Vidarbha and almost every part of Marathwada, uh, hardly 50 years back, we have a huge population of great Indian bustards and other grassland biodiversity. So the area is known for its grassland. Uh, and sorry. So why the identity is changed? I was telling you. So British arrived in Berar in Varad in 1853. So why they arrived is a very interesting thing, that they are in search of black area with black cotton soil. Why they are in search of black cotton soil? Because Britishers want the area to grow cotton, because in Manchester they are facing trouble of a raw material, and there was a crisis, raw material crisis in Manchester. So that's why they are very eager uh, to improve the situation, and they arrived in Berar because the area is known for its black cotton soil. So they arrived in 1853, and they merged Berar and Vidarbha, which is CP and Berar, now becomes CP and Berar. Earlier it was a central province and Berar. So in 50 years, from 1853 to 1903, in this 15 years, what happened is tremendously harmful, not only for biodiversity, landscapes, communities, but also uh, as a social system as a whole. So what Britishers do, they converted uh, a piece of land which is around 30 lakh hectares, 30 lakh hectares spread on in all five districts. They converted it, systematically converted it from grasslands to cotton agriculture. So how this was happened? So earlier there were no private land. So they introduced very systematic legal provisions to convert these land into patta lands. Then they become a, these land becomes a private lands. Earlier there were, these lands were common lands. So no agriculture or farming was introduced here. Farming was very limited, and local communities' livelihood was mostly dependent on livestock, and very few area is covered by the agriculture. And in agriculture, it is mostly the traditional crops which are climate friendly, like sorghum, bajra, and other crops which are climate friendly, and they give yield in a limited rainfall. So this kind of situation was there, and this huge landscape change, 30 lakh acre, 30 lakh acre converted into from grassland to agriculture. So what happened because of this huge landscape change is The area is covered. Earlier, the area is covered by grasses, and now it's covered by cotton because of this huge biodiversity loss. Like a gazetteer in 1906 of Akola said, the we hardly hunt great Indian bustard because they are ample, they are huge in numbers. So there is no trophy hunting or no fancy hunting for the great Indian bustard, as they are ample. And now within 100 years, the population of great Indian bustard is near to zero in Maharashtra. So huge biodiversity loss is one of the consequences. Then uh, second is the situation of groundwater and soil moisture. You know, when a land covered with a grass and when a land covered with a crop like cotton, their uh, their ecosystem services change very drastically. And so what happened is, uh, addition to that, as I told you, that Britishers hunt in these grassland. This is a photograph of lesser florican hunted by Britishers. uh, these all are males. This is a cotton boom during the colonial period. And what happened is very tragic in 1872, 1878, and 1892. There were three famines, very uh, very bad famines. And this is a photograph belonging to Vidarbha, Varad. No one knows. I got this picture from Dr. Lakshman Satya, and this is very disturbing picture. But during these colonial practices, the huge famines yielded death of 3 lakh livestock and 1 lakh uh, human beings. So this kind of landscape changes happen. And in addition to that, the why Britishers change this, and why the area landscape of grassland is very important for communities, because communities perspective towards these landscapes are like a resource. They think that grassland is a resource and they are dependent for a grassland for their livestock. But when British arrived, they are very much interested into revenue. So grassland yielded no revenue, near to zero revenue. Importance of grassland for the Britishers is zero. So they tagged, or they stigmatized grasslands, categorized grassland as a wasteland. Unfortunately, so even today, some of the individuals, or some of the government department or political um, leaders use this wasteland term. So this wasteland attitude and wasteland term comes from the Britishers, just because the land is not important for them as a revenue giving land. And unfortunately, today the area, the history is not limited to this colonial period, but the town where I am living, Karanja Lad, from where I am talking to you, is looted by Shivaji. So this is very contradictory situation. Today the area is known for farmer suicides and farmer crisis and drought and everything. And we have huge deficit of development, huge deficit of irrigation, and these kind of things known about Vidarbha. But the Shivaji Maharaj altogether came from Satar to the town where I'm situated in. I'm talking to you, and he looted around 4,000 gold coins from the town. So how this is happened? This is happened because of the community's knowledge about the resource and its utilization. So this is before Britishers. So this kind of wealth was created by the local communities through traditional agriculture system, plus the use of natural resource. And that's why Shivaji looted the area. So the area, actually Britishers themselves wrote when they visit to the Pimple, the village which is in Wardha, Pimpalkhuta, the British individual written that Pimpalkhuta is a Denmark of India. That kind of a livestock, that number of a livestock, and that kind of a milk production and everything was there. So he attempt to mention that Pimpalkhuta is a Denmark of India. So these kind of a tragic changes in around 150 years happened, and the area is known for wealth. And Varad म्हणजे सोन्याची कुऱ्हाड. In Marathi, they there was a saying that these kind of sayings are there. So in even today, unfortunately, our government is doing same kind of policies, like we are changing uh, jawar to soybean. Britishers changed grassland to cotton. So same kind of attitude towards these important resources is there. So now move ahead. So as I told you, because of these landscape changes and mismanagement of land, and ignoring the traditional system of communities and local people, ignoring, the lesser florican is become endangered. So this is a photograph from a Nagpur museum which was established in 1864, uh, popularly known as Central Museum. So these are the specimen of lesser florican male and female. So D. Abru was a curator of this museum. He wrote that I went to collect a specimen of lesser florican. Uh, the museum is situated in Nagpur. So he went to collect specimen of lesser florican in 1912. He hunted 38 lesser floricans, and he wrote the task was finished before the breakfast. So in 3 to 4 hours, he shot down 38 lesser florican birds. And now in Maharashtra, there were hardly uh, 50 individual lesser floricans are there. So what happened is, I come to know about lesser florican. As you know, I was a habitual amateur bird watcher. So I come to know about lesser florican, and we used to visit this Nagpur museum. And what happened in 1998, I fortunately I was asked to work on a conservation project which was about status of lesser florican in Vidarbha. So I was very happy. I come to know about the bird, but I was unaware about the ecological history which I was telling you earlier. So we started surveying the area, and even after 1 year of hectic surveys and all the methods which ecologists use, the in vain we could not find the lesser florican. Then I started reading about historical material. So I come to know about the community which is known as a Fase Pardi. Fase Pardi is a traditional hunting community, and from Britishers to Maruti Chitampalli, which is a very popular Marathi writer, all wrote about lesser florican with Fase Pardis, because Fase Pardis used to hunt lesser florican, and they are having very important traditional knowledge about the lesser florican. So I contacted them, and we fortunately in 1998 found a female lesser florican, and it was established that lesser florican still there in Vidarbha. And I met Mr. Himmat Pawar. He is a Mr. Himmat Pawar. He used to hunt lesser florican when he was 12 year old, and he is like a encyclopedia of birds plus encyclopedia of grassland biodiversity. So he changed my attitude, my everything. Earlier, I was like a elite class conservationist, which think that the villagers or hunting communities, they are dependent for the decline of birds, and they are very much doing very negative practices. But I spent around 1 year with Himmat Pawar. I stayed with him. So he update me about everything, and he uh, uh, share his knowledge with me, and tell me that how they used to hunt birds, what are their traditional practices, and uh, they hunt birds from thousands of years, but birds are not declined. The numbers are not declined earlier, but the problem of birds decline, or a problem of environment today, which we are facing, is because of the city dwellers, or because of the agricultural practices, what kind of agricultural practices we are doing. So Himmat Pawar told me about their traditional hunting practices, their rules, and how they sustainably manage. So I am very much impressed, and I come to know about his community. And he told me that because of the use of pesticides and weedicides, the birds are dying. He not only told me, but he showed me how the birds being poisoned around agricultural lands, and how unnecessarily they are not utilized, they are not eaten by the communities, but this kind of situation is happening. And addition to that, Himmat Pawar told me that even if we sustainably use our resource, we are not the culprit behind the decline of population of birds and animals, but we are very much in livelihood crisis, because it is not practically possible to continue hunting because of the this huge decline. So I come to know about the livelihood issue of the community, and I as a youngster, as a 24 years old now, I was very much interested with about the community and their knowledge and their livelihood situation. So we started talking with community members, taking meetings, and trying to understand their livelihood issue. And I established Samvedna, and we as a group started working with them. And I come to know that community is very much willing to explore the optional livelihood. And we ask community what kind of options you want. So they shared that livestock keeping is the best option for us, because we used to do it, and we have knowledge about that. But community also shared with us that the fodder is a biggest issue. As you see, the area around this Pasepardi village is very dry, and there were hardly any palatable fodder species. So we talked up with the community about the how we can come over this problem of fodder. So they said earlier there were a good grasslands. The again the Lakshman Satya story, the ecological history come back, and people and older person and senior citizens from the communities told me that the area is known for grasslands, and they have very big affinity with the grass species. And they also shared me their traditional practices of the grassland. And they also told me that if the traditional practices were re-established, the issue of fodder availability might be finished. So we tried to document these traditional practices. They said they have a specific area for each year they reserved as a fodder reserve. So we re-established these traditional practices, and these youths are doing fencing their forest land for the sake of fodder security. Within 3 years, within 3 years, these kind of fodder availability is there. And Vadala is a village where we work in from 19 from 2007. So Vadala is a village which become a legendary village because it's a village they buy livestock by selling fodder. So in Maharashtra, we spend around 1200 crores after every 3 years on fodder camps, popularly known as the Chara Chhaunis. So now Vadala tell the story how the simple practices of traditional plus modern knowledge can bring a change. So what they did is they initially they fence their forest land. Earlier they were actually a grasslands. Forest department tries to convert them into forest. Britishers tries to convert them into agriculture, but communities want them to use as a grassland. And Vadala villagers and our surrounding 10 villages are trying to use these lands as a grassland, and they are yielding they are getting this much of huge fodder production is there, and communities are selling fodder and buying animals. Not only this, as I told you earlier, that biodiversity loss was also a big impact of these landscape changes. Now, our site, Akola and Washim, is the only site where endangered lesser florican sighted. And with the help of traditional knowledge of Hasepardi communities, we are able to site lesser floricans every year. We protect their nest, and we are trying to conserve grasslands with these practices. What are these practices? Only three bans: ban on grazing during monsoon, only during monsoon, then ban on forest fire, no vanwa, then ban on tree cutting. Trimming is allowed, but cutting is not allowed. Only three these community bans. No expenditure of a single rupee is done on in Vatala and surrounding villages. And lesser florican is flourishing, grasslands is flourishing, and local livestock based livelihood is also flourishing. The case study is not only about the sighting of lesser florican, but in 2007 we cite nesting of lesser florican. This is a nest of endangered lesser florican, and we continuously cite nest of lesser florican from 2007. So this is a community conserved area, and the conservation is not done on the basis of tradition only, but the use of Biodiversity Conservation Act is also there. There, communities are establishing their biodiversity management committees, and they are conserving their grassland. Through the work is supported by various or institutes and various funding agencies. Uh, I think I am able to tell you the story in short available time. Thank you.
There are comments from Manjiri Mahajan. Wonderful efforts in conservation of lesser florican. Where can we see it without disturbing it?
Actually, I think Piyush posted one
Yeah,
question about ecotourism. Uh, at present, we are not introduced any ecotourism because the potential conservation or potential uh, conservation of grasslands is not done, and we don't want to promote florican centric tourism. So we are undergoing with the community communication with the community that how to promote a grassland tourism, because that is a beauty of the area. A communities, their music, their cuisines, their culture, their story, and a person like Himmat Pawar meeting with a person like Himmat Pawar is a real potential for the tourism, and not only let's Florican. So we are in we are discussing this, and I think in near future we can promote a community based grassland tourism in the area. So
yeah.
Manjiri ji, as the question is first question come to anyone's mind, that how we can see lesser florican. Unfortunately, I think it's not important to watch lesser florican, because in Gujarat or in Rajasthan there are sites where you can see lesser florican. I think now the need of the time is to do something for the grassland conservation, do something for the community livelihoods. And once floricans and other grassland biodiversity flourish, then only I think it's good to spend time watching lesser floricans. Even we hardly go for watching lesser florican or watching birds. We only document the display sites, and our Fasepardi friends document the nesting sites, just to monitor the trend of a lesser florican population.
Yeah, Piyush sir is asking what kind of support can we give in the work that you are doing?
Okay. Uh, Actually, we are collaborating with different kind of organizations. Like we are working with ICER Pune, we are working with Ecological Society. So I think research methodologies and publishing a research paper based on this is very much helpful for us. So that is one area where external individuals can help. And of course there are many funding requirements, many tools requirements are there, so we will make you aware if something like that is there.
Yeah, someone is asking, can you share a little that uh, if the animals cannot graze during monsoon period, then how do they manage the fodder needs?
This is a very good question. Actually, the system is during monsoon, uh, there was a availability of fodder around agriculture land, not these common grasslands. So traditional system is also a shifting of grazing from common grasslands to agricultural fields. Earlier, the agriculture boundaries was around 12 feet, 10 feet or 15 feet long of a width. So these areas are known as a dhura in our area. So these lands, additionally, in addition to that, the communities use land sparing practices. Like they spare a piece of land for grasses or for fodder. So they graze their animals in these areas, and they shift to grassland during a summer, when scarcity of a dry grass is there. So they use these common grassland during a summer season.
Yeah, yeah. There are other questions as well. Mostly, the questions are revolving around what are the challenges of restoring grassland ecosystem and how you create the microclimate in the initial stages.
Okay. As I told you, the first challenge is the attitude. Like even forest department, which is a custodian of these habitats, they also not interested in grassland conservation, because even forest department think that the grasslands are not a forest or a something like eco restoration. They also think that planting a trees, making a area green, jungle is something working for environment or working for biodiversity. So we have to work hard to change this attitude. So we started talking about this. We started spreading about the book of Lakshman Satya's book. We translated it. We gave a lectures, and we engaged with the forest department. Nowadays, fortunately and unfortunately, because of the lesser florican population, forest department is talking about grasslands, and they are not only talking, they are taking some initiatives, good initiatives with local organizations about the grassland conservation. So initially, this is the challenge, to change the attitude and perspective towards landscape, that these are the habitats, and if these are natural habitats, so this should be kept like this.
Yeah,
There were
Priyank.
there were many other challenges also,
Okay.
even conservationists. They also even researchers. Many researchers think that the in India there were no grasslands, and grasslands are visible because of the destruction of dry deciduous forest. So this is all this information and this perspective also is a very big hurdle for us. But now, fortunately, because of the some ecological studies, it is evident that these grasslands are uh, very old grasslands, and we have grassland biodiversity and grassland ecosystem from the ages.
Yeah. There is another question from Priyanka Ghate. She is asking, apart from protecting the grasslands, were there any grass species planted or introduced for creating habitat ideal for or suitable for lesser florican?
Okay. So we haven't, as we said, eco restoration practice. So we haven't introduced any grass species or anything like that in common grasslands. But we observed that lesser florican use Ischimum pilosum, which is known as a kunda, Ischimum pilosum for nesting. So what we did is it's a native grass species, and it's a very hardy species. So what we do is where we identify nesting sites, we planted some clumps of Ischimum pilosum.
Okay. Rajanandini Kolte asks that as a landscape architect, what measures can be taken by us to help increase the population in terms of
As I
landscape
told,
intervention? Yeah.
as I told, there is a need to understand the grassland biodiversity and grassland landscape, and our temptation to change something into something, like the area is looking very dry, the area should be green or blue or this or that, needs to be reconsidered. I think then for the landscape architect, I think ecological history is very much important. And country like India, we have to have monitor the landscape changes happened in colonial period, so that we come to know about what and how the original state of land is there. So I think as a landscape architect, these kind of things you must have to consider.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bilay Menon is asking about the challenges of restoring grassland ecosystem, and even Shishir sir is asking, uh, can you elaborate on the three bans and any management restoration practices that have worked and not worked so far? So you can talk on challenges and things that work, not work.
Challenges, as I said, the traditional practices almost gone, vanished. Only the senior citizens have some memories about the use of ecosystems. So we try and we implement trial and error method, and we, as we mostly work with youth, so that was the traditional knowledge or a modern knowledge for grassland management was a challenge. Then, as I said, the attitude of the departments, forest department, was initially a challenge. Then now we have a challenge of economics, the economics of livestock, the economics of uh, grass, that is also a challenge. But now fortunately communities come to know that only fodder is not the outcome of grassland conservation, but they observed that uh, they uh, they observed the soil moisture is improved, the groundwater is improved. So communities are now very much interested to use their common lands as a grassland.
Yeah, in continuation to this, Dhanashri Kulkarni is asking, can you elaborate more on the Fasipardi community?
Okay. Fase Pardi is basically belongs to the northern side of India, which is Gujarat and Rajasthan. They used to hunt wild birds, especially birds, with their traditional sophisticated snares. In Marathi, Fase means a snare. So that's why they are called as a Fase Pardi. But the Fase Pardi is a name given to the community. They themselves known as a Wagri. So because of invasion from west, many communities sorry sorry migrated to the southern part of India, and at some point of history, Fardis also come to the south and they come to the Maharashtra. They known as they might sometime given name as a Fasepardi. They come to the more southern part of India, and in Andhra they known as a Hakki So, but the community is very interesting community. They are very man dominated, and they are very hardy. The women are very brave. Unfortunately, because of the implementation of Criminal Tribe Act by Britishers in 1871, they stigmatized as a criminals. But in Vidarbha, where grassland resources and other natural resources are good in condition, so they used to continue their hunting practices, and their social identity in Vidarbha is hunters. And unfortunately, their social identity in rest of the Maharashtra, especially Western Maharashtra, is like a criminals because of the implementation of Criminal Tribe Act. And now they are working hard. There are organizations, there are sangatnas who are working with Fasipardis and trying hard to change this attitude.
Yes, sir. Manjiri Mahajan, who is bird watcher and wildlife
Okay.
enthusiast and traveler, she has commented that she was fortunate to see the Bengal florican in the Puyapada grassland in Manas. It is a lovely grassland ecosystem that is preserved.
Okay, great, Manjari.
Yeah, Mayuri Tate is asking that when grassland contains seasonal grasses, in that what could be the approach for restoration?
Okay. As I said, during monsoon, grasses flourish. So, and unfortunately, nowadays you can see even pastoral communities use the land for grazing in monsoon. So, communities told us that the grazing ban during monsoon is very important, and even communities also shared with us after getting a knowledge of a 3 to 4 years of a total ban, throughout the year ban. They only stall fed their animals. After 3 to 4 years, they observed that if the area is not grazed after monsoon, the population of non-palatable grasses increase, and the land is become very hard and slowly converted into dry deciduous forest. So in addition to that, they observed that if the grazing is totally banned, the fertilization which was done by local livestock is disturbed. Then they observed that there are some grass species which flourish through grazing. So these kind of things they observe. So that's why it is important to start grazing from the month of January to February till May or June. Thank you.
Okay, Madhu Reddy is asking that is there any article or something written on the restoration that we can share so that everyone understands that restoration is not just about tree planting And on the similar lines, Bilay Menon is also asking, how do you see this subject can become a part of education curriculum? Do you see cultural landscapes becoming integral component of future courses in landscape ecology?
Okay.
What are your
So,
views?
yes, our initiatives are documented by the some of the individuals and organizations. So, I will share the link on group, so that can be shared to the all the participants. So, there are some stories, elaborated long stories. So, you can have a details about the work. In addition to that, yes, I think education is a very much important aspect, and our kids should know about the ecology and ecological approaches. So, as I told you, I am working with Maharashtra Gene Bank project. So, that project is a Maharashtra-wide project, and we have educational component, and we are working closely with education department, and CEE, Center for Environmental Education, is our partner and collaborators from last 10 years, and we are trying hard to imbibe this kind of uh, knowledge in education system. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate, sir. Kaustubh, please elaborate on the three bans you talked about and other restoration or management practices that are adopted, that work and that don't work.
Okay, initially, because of the time, I straightly come on three bands, but initially that was not like that. Initially, individuals select their lands, a piece of land like 3 acres to 10 acres, according to their livestock population, and they used to fence these lands. So then time comes that everyone want to conserve grass, because everyone want fodder and everyone want to have fodder security. So they realize that there is no need to fence the area. There is only need to declare a ban. So in our area, we have a practices of gaiki. So gaiki is a person who used to, or who take all animals belong to village to grazing. So what they do is they inform these gaiki individual, so not to graze the animals in certain areas. So the grazing ban is promoted. And secondly, as you know, communities are getting benefits, not only economic benefit, livelihood benefit, but very important outcome of this initiative is a dignity. You know, as I told you, Fasepardi community is stigmatized as a criminal tribe in Western Maharashtra, and stigmatized as a hunters in Vidarbha. Because of this initiative, they got a dignity. Their traditional practices are recognized by Forest Department. Bird lovers, elite class conservationists, uh, conservationist communities, so they feel dignified. So dignity is a very important outcome for the communities. So these kind of things are very important. I think
Yes,
if the only thing is, if you read the detailed elaborated stories, you will come to know about do's and don'ts and these kind of things. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Kaustubh, sir. It was very informative and very well presented presentation.